The emergency protocols kicked in with a violent shudder that ran through the massive generation ship times Eternal Dawn asterisk. After 870,000 years of drifting through the cold void of space, the ancient vessel's systems began their resurrection sequence. Deep within the ship's core, thousands of cryogenic pods started their warming cycles, and humanity began to wake from the longest sleep in their species' history. Commander Elena Vasquez was among the first to emerge from her crystalline chamber. Ice crystals fell from her skin as she gasped, her lungs burning with their first breath in nearly 1,000,000 years. The medical bay around her hummed with activity as automated systems checked her vital signs and began the careful process of bringing her body back to full function. Her muscles ached with a deep, bone-deep stiffness that felt like she had been sleeping for exactly as long as she had. As Elena's vision cleared, she saw rows upon rows of other pods beginning their own awakening sequences. The sight should have filled her with relief, but something felt wrong. The ship's emergency lighting cast everything in an eerie red glow, and warning signals echoed through the corridors. This wasn't supposed to be how humanity returned to consciousness. "Status report," Elena croaked to the ship's AI, her voice barely above a whisper after so many centuries of disuse. "Commander Vasquez, welcome back," the AI's calm voice replied. "Current date, 870,047 AD. Ship status: operational, but compromised. Reason for early awakening: unknown vessels approaching our position. Estimated contact in 72 hours. Elena forced herself to sit up, fighting against muscles that felt like they were made of stone. Around her, other crew members were beginning to stir. She recognized faces she hadn't seen in what felt like yesterday, but had actually been longer than all of recorded human history before their journey began. Dr. James Chen, the ship's chief scientist, was pulling himself from a nearby pod, his usually neat hair now wild and his skin pale from the long hibernation. "Elena," James called out, his voice rough. "What's happening?" "The emergency wake sequence wasn't supposed to activate unless we reached our destination." "We didn't," Elena replied, accessing the ship's main display through her neural interface. The data that flowed into her mind made her blood run cold. They were still in deep space, nowhere near their intended colony world. But they weren't alone. 3 massive vessels hung in the darkness around the time's Eternal Dawn asterisk, each one easily 10 times the size of their generation ship. The ships didn't match any design in humanity's historical records. Their hulls seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, and energy readings showed power signatures that dwarfed anything humans had ever built. "My God, Doctor," Chen whispered as he accessed the same data. "Elena, look at the energy output from those ships. It's impossible. No civilization should be able to generate that kind of power." More crew members were awakening now. Engineers, scientists, soldiers, civilians, all the people who had volunteered to leave Earth behind when their dying sun had made their homeworld uninhabitable. They had been humanity's last hope, sent to find a new world among the stars. Now they found themselves facing something entirely unexpected. Captain Sarah Morrison emerged from her command pod, moving with the practiced efficiency that had made her the perfect choice to lead humanity's greatest journey. Despite the effects of the long sleep, she quickly assessed the situation and began issuing orders. "All department heads to the bridge immediately," she announced through the ship's communication system. "Medical teams, prioritize revival of essential personnel. Engineering, I want a full status report on our ship's condition. Science team, analyze those vessels and tell me what we're dealing with." Elena pulled herself to her feet, testing her balance. The ship's gravity generators had maintained their function perfectly, but her inner ear still felt strange after the long hibernation. She made her way through corridors filled with awakening humans, all of them confused and many frightened by the red emergency lighting and constant warnings. The bridge of the time's Eternal Dawn times had changed during their long sleep. What had once been clean metal and glass surfaces were now covered in a thin layer of cosmic dust and showed signs of minor wear from the centuries. But the ship's systems were still functional, still responding to their commands as if they had been sleeping for days rather than millennia. "Captain," called Lieutenant Torres from the communications station, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. It's It's not in any language our computers recognize, but there are mathematical patterns. They might be trying to establish communication. Captain Morrison nodded grimly. Put it through the Universal Translator Protocol. Let's see if we can make sense of what they're saying. The bridge speakers crackled to life with sounds unlike anything the humans had ever heard. There were musical tones mixed with what sounded like whale songs, combined with rapid clicking noises and deep harmonic vibrations. The ship's AI worked frantically to analyze the patterns and find some kind of translation matrix. Analysis complete, the AI announced. The transmission appears to be a greeting, followed by what our systems interpret as surprise and concern. Doctor. Chen looked up from his science station, his face pale. Captain, I'm reading the stellar navigation data. According to the position of nearby stars and pulsars, we're exactly where we should be at this point in our journey. But that means we've been unconscious for the full duration. Elena finished. 870,000 years. But if these ships are here, that means intelligent life has been active in this region during our entire journey. 8. The implications hit everyone on the bridge at once. Humanity had left Earth, believing they were alone in the universe. Their long journey had been based on the assumption that they would find empty worlds to colonize, that they would be pioneers in uninhabited space. Instead, they had awakened to find a galaxy that was very much occupied. Captain, the communications officer called out urgently, we're getting another transmission. This one is different. The translation matrix is working better now. A new voice filled the bridge, obviously artificial but somehow conveying emotion. Unknown vessel. You display technology signatures consistent with ancient archives. Identify yourselves and state your origin. You appear to be impossible. Captain Morrison looked around at her crew, seeing her own thoughts reflected in their faces. They were no longer the advanced civilization that had left Earth. They were relics, museum pieces that had somehow wandered into a universe that had moved far beyond them. This is Captain Sarah Morrison, of the Earth Vessel Times, Eternal Dawn *, she replied, her voice steady despite the uncertainty she felt. We are human beings from the Sol system. We have been in hibernation for 870,000 years, traveling to establish a new colony. Who are we speaking with? The pause that followed seemed to last forever. When the response came, the artificial voice sounded genuinely shocked. Humans? From Sol? That cannot be possible. The archives speak of your species, but those records are ancient beyond measure. The Galactic Federation believed humanity to be extinct for over 800,000 years. You are speaking to Administrative Controller Zethus of the Federation Monitoring Division. Please prepare to be escorted to the nearest Federation facility for verification of your impossible claims. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The Galactic Federation. Humanity had left behind an empty galaxy and awakened to find it governed by an interstellar civilization that considered them a legend from the distant past. Around the bridge, crew members exchanged worried glances. They had expected to find new worlds to colonize. Instead, they had found a galaxy where they were ghosts, where their very existence was considered impossible, and now they were about to be escorted by beings who possessed technology that made their own ship look like a wooden sailing vessel by comparison. Understood, Controller Zethus, Captain Morrison replied. We will comply with your request. As the three alien vessels began to move into formation around the Times Eternal Dawn *, Elena couldn't help but wonder what had happened to the rest of humanity during their long sleep. Had Earth survived its dying sun? Had other human colonies been established? Or were the few thousand people aboard their ship truly the last remnants of their species, awakening into a galaxy that had forgotten them? The medical bay continued its work of reviving the remaining crew, bringing back to life people who had no idea that everything they had known was now ancient history. Soon, all of humanity's survivors would be awake to face this new reality together. But as Elena watched the alien ships guide them toward an unknown destination, she couldn't shake the feeling that their awakening was about to surprise the Galactic Federation just as much as it had surprised them. Humanity had always been unpredictable. Being forgotten for nearly 1,000,000 years might not change that fundamental truth about their species. The Federation Monitoring Station Times, Celestial Archive Times, was a marvel of engineering that dwarfed even the largest structures humanity had ever conceived. Stretching for hundreds of kilometers in all directions, the station existed as both a research facility and a repository of galactic knowledge. It was here that the Time's Eternal Dawn Times found itself docked, surrounded by curious scientists from dozens of different species. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the station's central observation deck, looking out at a view that would have been impossible to imagine during Earth's time. Ships from across the galaxy moved through the station's traffic lanes. Some resembled crystalline flowers that pulsed with inner light. Others looked like living creatures swimming through space, and still others appeared to be geometric shapes that defied understanding. "It's overwhelming, Doctor," Chen said beside her, his voice filled with wonder and anxiety. "Look at them all. Every single one of those ships represents a civilization we never knew existed." Through the massive viewing windows, they could see delegations arriving from across the Federation. News of humanity's return had spread faster than light through quantum communication networks, and representatives from hundreds of species were converging on the station to witness what many considered impossible. Federation Archaeological Director Thisisandra approached them with movements that reminded Elena of flowing water. Her species, the Veltarni, had evolved from aquatic creatures and still retained their graceful, undulating way of moving even in artificial gravity. Her skin was a shifting pattern of blues and greens, and when she spoke, her voice had a musical quality that the translation systems rendered into perfect English. "Dr. Vasquez, Dr. Chen," Thisandra said, her tone filled with genuine excitement. "We have made remarkable discoveries in our archives since your arrival. Your species is not merely remembered. You are legendary." She led them through corridors lined with holographic displays showing the history of galactic civilization. Each section represented thousands of years of development, technological advancement, and cultural evolution. Elena noticed that the earliest sections showed sparse star maps with only a few inhabited worlds. But as the timeline progressed, the galaxy had filled with thousands of thriving civilizations. "Here," Thisandra said, stopping before a display that made both humans gasp in recognition. "The Soul Archive. Everything we know about humanity's early history. Tuan." Thisandra. Tuan round. The holographic display showed Earth as it had been nearly 1,000,000 years ago. Cities gleamed on the continents, and orbital stations dotted the space around the planet. But as they watched, the sun grew brighter and redder, and the human structures began to disappear. "According to our records," Thisandra explained, "humanity was one of the first species to achieve faster-than-light travel in this sector. Your people sent out dozens of generation ships before your sun entered its final phases. The Time's Eternal Dawn Times was thought to be the last ship to leave Sol system." Elena felt her throat tighten. "What happened to the others? The other ships?" "That is where your story becomes truly remarkable," the alien archaeologist replied. "Most of the human colony ships reached their destinations and established successful settlements. For nearly 50,000 years, human colonies spread across this arm of the galaxy. Your people were pioneers, explorers, innovators. Many of the fundamental technologies that became the foundation of Federation science came from human research." Dr. Chen leaned forward. "Were? What happened to them?" Thisandra's skin patterns shifted to darker hues, indicating sadness in her species. "The Great Convergence. About 800,000 years ago, something unprecedented happened. Every human colony, every outpost, every individual human in the galaxy simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not conquered. Vanished. Ships would arrive at human worlds to find empty cities, functioning technology, but no people. It happened everywhere, all at once. The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. Humanity hadn't just been forgotten. They had mysteriously vanished from the galaxy at exactly the time the Time's Eternal Dawn Times had begun its long journey. The Federation mounted massive investigation efforts, Thisandra continued. Human technology was too valuable, human knowledge too important to lose. Some of our greatest scientific advances were based on research your people had begun. But no trace was ever found. No explanation was ever discovered. After 100,000 years of searching, Humanity was declared extinct, and your worlds were sealed as historical preserves. They moved deeper into the archive, where Elena saw something that made her heart stop. Displayed in a place of honor was a perfect holographic reproduction of Earth's final message. A transmission sent out just before the sun's expansion made the planet uninhabitable. "We are not ending," the voice of Elena's ancestors said across nearly 1,000,000 years. "We are beginning. Humanity will survive among the stars. And one day, we will return to light the darkness." That message, Thisandra said softly, became the foundation of Federation philosophy. The idea that no matter how dark things become, intelligence and hope will find a way to survive. "Your species taught us that extinction is not the end of the story." Captain Morrison's voice echoed through the station's corridors as she addressed not just the crew of the Time's Eternal Dawn *, but representatives from across the Federation who had gathered to witness this historic moment. "We understand that our return raises more questions than it answers," the captain said, her image being broadcast across thousands of worlds. "We don't know what happened to our people any more than you do, but we're here now, and we want to contribute to this galactic community that our ancestors helped build." In the station's main assembly hall, beings from hundreds of different species listened in wonder as Captain Morrison described humanity's long sleep, their surprise at awakening to find the galaxy inhabited, and their hopes for the future. Elena watched through the observation windows as the crowd, if it could be called that, listened with rapt attention. There were the crystalline Jeklari, whose bodies rang like bells when they were excited. The massive Gornith, whose rocky hides concealed surprisingly gentle personalities. The energy-based Velthara, who existed as patterns of living light within specially designed containment fields. And dozens of other species, each one a testament to the incredible diversity of life the galaxy had produced. "The question before us," said High Counselor Veltaran, a being whose species had been among the first to achieve galactic civilization, "is what to do with this miraculous return. The human colonies have been preserved exactly as they were found, waiting for someone to claim them. But those worlds are now considered sacred sites by many Federation species." Elena realized the magnitude of what they were facing. Humanity hadn't just returned from the dead. They had returned to find that their absence had become a cornerstone of galactic culture and philosophy. Their empty worlds had become pilgrimage sites. Their lost knowledge had been elevated to near mythical status. Dr. Chen pulled up data on his portable interface, studying readings that made his eyes widen. "Elena, look at this. The technology these Federation species are using. I'm recognizing patterns in their energy signatures. They're not just based on human research. They're evolved versions of specific human technologies." He was right. The more Elena studied the Federation's technology, the more she recognized the underlying principles that human scientists had developed during their brief time in the galaxy. Quantum communication, faster than light travel, artificial intelligence, environmental control systems, all of it bore the hallmarks of human innovation, refined and improved over hundreds of thousands of years. "We didn't just disappear from the galaxy," Elena whispered in realization. "We became the foundation of everything that came after us." Thisandra overheard her comment and nodded gravely. "That is exactly correct, Dr. Vasquez. The Federation as it exists today is built on the technological and philosophical framework that humanity established. Your people may have vanished, but your influence never did. You shaped our entire civilization." As if to emphasize her point, the station's AI system activated, its voice bearing an unmistakable resemblance to the AI aboard the Time's Eternal Dawn *. "Attention all personnel. Incoming priority transmission from the Federation Central Council. All human guests are requested to attend the emergency session." Elena felt a mix of pride and concern. Humanity had inadvertently become the ancestors of galactic civilization, their missing presence serving as both inspiration and mystery. But now they were back, and the galaxy didn't quite know what to do with them. In the communications center, a three-dimensional image of the Federation's governing council materialized. Beings from the most advanced species in the galaxy looked upon the humans with expressions that transcended species, barriers, wonder, respect, and uncertainty. People of Earth, said the council chairman, a being whose species had evolved from energy patterns in stellar nebulae. Your return presents us with unprecedented questions. You are both our ancestors and our guests, both the builders of our foundation and strangers to our current reality. We propose a solution that honors both your legacy and our current civilization. Elena exchanged glances with her crewmates. Whatever the Federation was about to propose would determine humanity's place in a galaxy they no longer recognized. We offer you a choice, the chairman continued. Return to your preserved worlds and rebuild your civilization with Federation support, or join us as full partners in governing the galaxy you helped create. But know that either choice will change both humanity and the Federation forever. The weight of decisions settled over the crew of the Time's Eternal Dawn **. They had awakened, expecting to be pioneers on an empty world. Instead, they had become the key to understanding the greatest mystery in galactic history, while simultaneously holding the power to reshape the civilization that had grown in their absence. Commander Elena Vasquez stood before the largest gathering in galactic history. The Grand Assembly of the Federation had expanded beyond its usual chambers to accommodate representatives from every inhabited world, and still the gathering spilled across multiple space stations linked by quantum communication fields. Beings from across the galaxy watched as humanity prepared to make their decision about the future. But before that decision could be made, Elena knew they needed to solve the mystery that had haunted the Federation for 800,000 years. The disappearance of humanity wasn't just a historical puzzle. It was a missing piece that prevented the galaxy from truly understanding itself. With your permission, Elena announced to the assembly, I'd like to share what we've discovered about our people's disappearance. But first, I need to explain something about human nature that I don't think the galaxy fully understands. She activated a holographic display that showed the journey of the Time's Eternal Dawn *, but also data they had gathered during their long sleep. Their ship's sensors had continued recording throughout their hibernation, creating a unique record of galactic changes over nearly 1,000,000 years. Humans have always been problem solvers, Elena began. When we faced extinction on Earth, we didn't just flee. We planned. We sent out dozens of ships, but each one had a different purpose. Some were meant to establish colonies, others to explore, and still others had missions we kept secret even from each other. Dr. Chen joined her at the podium, his usual nervousness replaced by the confidence of someone who had solved a mystery that had puzzled the greatest minds in the galaxy. Our ship's long-range sensors detected something during our journey that we didn't understand at first. But now, with access to Federation archives, the pattern becomes clear. The holographic display changed to show a timeline of galactic events, with particular attention to energy signatures and quantum fluctuations that had occurred around the time of humanity's disappearance. 800,000 years ago, Chen explained. Just as human colonies were reaching their peak development, our scientists detected something that terrified them, a cosmic event that would eventually sterilize all organic life in this galaxy arm. Gasps and concerned sounds echoed through the assembly as representatives realized the implications. Even with all their advanced technology, the Federation species were not immune to cosmic-scale disasters. It was a wave of quantum destruction moving through space at near-light speed. Elena continued, unstoppable, invisible until it arrived, and absolutely lethal to any complex organic matter. It was set to reach the first human colonies in approximately 50,000 years. High Counselor Velteron's energy pattern flickered with what Elena had learned, indicated deep concern in his species. But our archives show no record of such an event. If this destruction wave had reached us, it didn't reach you, Dr. Chen said quietly. Because humanity stopped it, the assembly fell completely silent. Even the constant background hum of the space station's systems seemed to pause as the magnitude of that statement sank in. Elena pulled up new data, showing the final transmissions from human colonies in the weeks before their disappearance. Our people had developed technology that no other species had achieved, the ability to manipulate quantum fields on a galactic scale. They realized that the only way to stop the destruction wave was to create an interference pattern that would neutralize it. But the energy requirements, protested Dr. Vashti, the Federation's leading physicist, would be enormous beyond calculation. No civilization could generate that much power. Not one civilization, Elena agreed. But humanity had something else. Unity of purpose and the willingness to make the ultimate sacrifice. Every human colony, every outpost, every individual participated in creating a galactic-scale quantum field generator. The holographic display now showed the true scope of humanity's final project. Across dozens of worlds, massive installations had been built in perfect synchronization. Each human colony had become a component in a device larger than entire solar systems. The quantum interference field required perfect timing across interstellar distances, Chen explained. It also required every human to serve as a biological quantum resonator at the moment of activation. The energy needed to generate the field had to come from human neural patterns linked across the galaxy. Your people, Thisandra whispered, her skin patterns cycling through colors that indicated awe and horror. They turned themselves into components of a device designed to save the galaxy. It gets more remarkable than that, Elena said, her voice thick with emotion. The field didn't just neutralize the destruction wave. It created a quantum foundation that accelerated the development of sapient life throughout the galaxy. Every species that achieved sentience after that point did so faster and with greater potential because of what humanity built. Captain Morrison stepped forward, her command presence filling the vast assembly. The Federation exists because our ancestors chose to sacrifice their physical forms to ensure that intelligence and hope would survive in the galaxy. You didn't just inherit our technology, you inherited the boosted development that our final act made possible. The implications rippled through the assembly like a shockwave. The Federation hadn't just been influenced by humanity, it existed because of humanity's ultimate sacrifice. Every species present owed their enhanced development to human choice, to save the galaxy at the cost of their own existence. But how did you survive? Asked Council Member Zethara, whose crystalline form chimed with harmonics that indicated deep confusion. If all humans participated in this sacrifice, Elena smiled, feeling pride in her species that transcended the centuries. Because humans are paranoid planners. The Times, Eternal Dawn Times, and several other deep space ships were placed in hibernation outside the galaxy arm, specifically to survive whatever happened next. We were designed to be the seed bank, the backup plan, the hope that humanity could return when the danger was past. We represent the continuation protocol, Captain Morrison added. Our ancestors knew they might not survive saving the galaxy, so they made sure some of us would be preserved to carry on humanity's legacy. The Grand Assembly erupted in discussions as representatives tried to process the revelation that their entire civilization existed because of humanity's sacrifice. But Elena held up her hand for silence. There was more to explain. Now we need to address the present situation, she announced. Because the quantum field our ancestors created is beginning to decay. Our ship's sensors detected the degradation pattern during our approach. In approximately 10,000 years, the protection will fail, and any similar cosmic threats will again pose a danger to galactic civilization. Dr. Chen activated a new set of displays showing current quantum field measurements. The good news is that with Federation technology and human knowledge working together, we can create a permanent solution. But it will require cooperation between humanity and the Federation on a scale that has never been attempted. What kind of cooperation? High Counselor Velteran asked, his energy patterns indicating intense interest. Elena looked around the assembly, seeing beings from hundreds of species all waiting for her answer. We propose the creation of something that has never existed in galactic history. A truly integrated multi-species civilization, where human intuition and innovation is combined with Federation technology and wisdom. Not just an alliance, but a genuine merger of capabilities. The humans would not rule this new civilization, Captain Morrison clarified, nor would any single species. Instead, we would create a governmental structure where humanity's problem-solving abilities are balanced with the Federation's accumulated wisdom and technological advancement. In essence, Elena continued, we propose to complete what our ancestors started. They saved the galaxy through sacrifice. We can protect it through cooperation. The proposal sparked intense debate throughout the assembly. Some species were hesitant to change their carefully developed governmental systems. Others were excited by the possibilities that human innovation might bring to long-standing problems. Still others worried about the implications of integrating a species with such a history of dramatic solutions. But gradually, consensus began to emerge. The Federation had spent 800,000 years wondering what humanity might have contributed if they had survived. Now they had the chance to find out. This is Andra spoke for many when she addressed the assembly. The archives speak of human creativity, ingenuity, and willingness to attempt the impossible. Our civilization has achieved stability and prosperity, but perhaps we have become too cautious. The return of humanity offers us the chance to grow beyond our current limitations. Over the following months, the integration process began. Human crew members from the time's eternal dawn times were distributed across Federation research stations, sharing their perspective on problems that the galaxy had considered unsolvable. Meanwhile, Federation scientists worked with the ship's database to understand the full scope of human knowledge and innovation. Elena found herself appointed as the first human Federation liaison, responsible for coordinating the merger of two very different approaches to civilization. It was challenging work, but also exciting in ways she hadn't expected. Human intuition combined with Federation computational power was producing breakthrough solutions to issues ranging from energy distribution to interspecies communication. Dr. Chen led a team that successfully designed a new quantum stabilization system, one that would not only maintain the protective field but actually strengthen it over time. The project required contributions from dozens of species and would take centuries to complete, but it would ensure that no cosmic threat could endanger galactic civilization again. Captain Morrison established the Human Heritage Council, dedicated to preserving both the memory of humanity's sacrifice and the lessons it offered for the future. But more importantly, she worked with Federation leaders to develop new exploration protocols that combined human daring with Federation wisdom. As Elena stood once again in the observation deck of the Celestial Archive, now surrounded by both human colleagues and alien friends, she reflected on the strange journey that had brought them here. Humanity had left Earth as refugees fleeing a dying world. They had awakened to find themselves the foundation of galactic civilization, and now they were helping to build something greater than either humanity or the Federation could have achieved alone. The stars beyond the viewing port held new promise. Exploration missions were already being planned that would venture beyond the galaxy, seeking new worlds and new civilizations. With the combined capabilities of human innovation and Federation technology, the galaxy that had grown in humanity's absence was about to expand its reach beyond anything previously imagined. "You know, Doctor," Chen said, joining Elena at the viewing port, "our ancestors sent us to find a new home among the stars. I don't think they imagined we'd find an entire galactic family waiting for us." Elena smiled, watching as ships from dozens of species worked together on construction projects that would have been impossible for any single civilization to complete. "I think they would be proud of what we've all built together, and excited about what we're going to build next." The integration was far from complete, and challenges remained. But for the first time in nearly 1,000,000 years, humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. They had awakened to find themselves part of something greater than they had ever dreamed. And together with their new Federation partners, they were ready to face whatever the universe might offer. In the distance, construction began on the first of the new deep space exploration vessels. Designed with human ingenuity and Federation technology, the galaxy had been just the beginning. Now, together, they would reach for the stars beyond.